This is information that either they hide away from you or is really hard to find because it's not good for business. But as a health worker, it's my duty to educate you about how dangerous this can be for you. Now, welcome back to my channel. This is Patient. Today we're talking about the dangers or the effects of substance use, or what most of you have commonly referred to as drug abuse. And because we're coming to an end of World Suicide Awareness Month, which is September, my first point is going to be suicidal ideation. Now, suicide is the act of taking one's own life when people or individuals start using substances, for example, alcohol or cannabis, or what most of you refer to as marijuana. These individuals are at a very high risk of developing mental illnesses. One of those is substance-induced depression. One of the symptoms of depression include suicidal ideation, meaning the person has ideas about wanting to commit suicide. They have thought about it, or even they have a plan on how they're going to do it. It's not just about mental illness. There are also other factors that I'm going to explain on further that put you at a very high risk of developing suicidal ideation. It does not make better sense for me to move on without expounding more on mental illnesses induced by substance use. One of them is substance-induced psychosis, what most of you may call mad. Typically, this individual has hallucinations. It means they will start hearing things other people can't hear, saying things other people can't see. They also have delusions, they have catatonic movement. And the other thing is that you can have substance-induced depression, like I'd said earlier. You can also have substance-induced anxiety. If someone has excessive fear for the future or even for the present life, we can also have substance-induced mood disorders. That's where depression lives. You can also have mania. That's such a big topic that I'm going to expand on, but I would love for you to know that substance use puts you at a very, very high risk of developing mental illnesses. This is my biggest call for alarm. Speaking from the experience of what we've seen at hospital, it is very evident that substance use has become a very common practice among children, especially those in secondary schools. From the stories that we've had at hospital, or what we've heard from our patients, this is some of the advice that I would love to give to people that are actually responsible for these children. But to parents, when you go for visitation, don't just take, grab and smile with your children and that's just it. Please pay attention to the slightest changes in your children. This can be in terms of performance, in terms of their physical appearance. Just what the child looks like in their uniform, from who you have known them to be before, can tell you so much about what is changing in their lives. Also, listen to their complaints. Most of these children are not very expressive. By the time they speak about something, they're trying so hard to tell you something. So don't shut them down. And especially the Western culture that is coming in with all these gay things that are happening, most of these children are being bullied. And to prove themselves that they're actually men, they're strong, they can get high, most of them are joining these peer groups and they're getting involved in practices like substance use. They're smoking, they're doing all these things. But these are things that you can actually notice very early at the start, just by being very attentive and looking after your children. So when you go for visitation, please look out for who are your friends' children. What do they do? Where do they come from? What do they do? How is their performance? I mean, look out for those slight things that you can look out for in your child. The school leadership. These are some of the practices that are going on hidden in those peer groups, and by the time you get to know, most especially more children have been affected. So when some children come out to report to you, express their concerns, please listen to them. This looks like a Western culture and most of the leaders do not pay attention to it because it doesn't seem really relevant, but people's children are being affected, and it still goes back to their parents because these are the parents that are bringing these children to hospital, not the school owners. So please look after people's children and know that this practice is actually going on. And when children report, listen to them. If you have counselors, make use of them. These are practices that can be very detrimental to these children in the long run. So listen to them. And to children, please, in case any child ever gets to watch this video, don't let peer pressure drain you into certain practices like substance use or smoking, what they can call it in the layman language, because these are practices that you may never be able to get out of, and they can be very dangerous to your future, the future that you may not even have. So don't let peer pressure push you into that. These are no longer cool things or the rich people things. These are very toxic and unhealthy habits. Don't be lured into them. them. If they can bring you to these hospitals and see what your friends are going through, you will understand that no one should ever let you into practices like that. They are not good for you, for your future, for your parents, for everyone around you. You hear me? And now that we're done talking to the children, it's time to speak to the mothers too. Now, to pregnant mothers or to mothers that are expecting, some of the reasons why we advise you not to take substances while you're pregnant is because it does not just affect you, but your unborn innocent baby too. And here are some of those ways. It can lead to a miscarriage. It can lead to a stillbirth. It means you're giving birth to a dead baby. It can lead to preterm labor, sudden infant death. It can lead to withdrawal symptoms in the baby after birth, and these withdrawal symptoms depend on what substance the mother has been using, and those symptoms can range from insomnia or lack of sleep, irritability, child will be crying all the time, can lead to tachycardia or increased heart rate, it can lead to vomiting, loss of appetite, to mention but a few. So to a mother, if you're doing substances while you are pregnant, it is really bad for your child. It's unsafe for your babies. And something else I wanted to add on, because this is something we've also seen very commonly on ward, substance use can affect your social life, and especially to men that do substance use. We have seen domestic violence being a very big result or side effect of people that do substance use, especially in families, and this affects majorly children too, in terms of how they're being raised and what they're seeing and what they're tolerating. It is not okay for the mental health of these children, because maybe they're saying you're abusing their mother in front of them, you're beating them up. Even as a parent, you're not providing in terms of basic needs for these children, school fees, taking them to school, food, because every money that you get is directed to you taking a beer or taking alcohol or smoking. You are no longer paying attention to your family, and this is not okay, especially for the children. For me, that is my biggest concern. It may be a little easier for the adults because they'll find ways to cope, and of course they've already been raised, the habits that they have, the ones that they got from childhood. But for these children whose minds and brains are very fresh, they're taking up what they're seeing in the environment, the first thing they're being introduced to is violence to their mother, maybe to the father, lack of basic needs, they're seeing the father not being around. It is very toxic for their mental health. It's going to affect how these children are relating with other children outside, maybe in school, in the community, and these are children you're going to find with very bad habits because this is what they've seen from home. They're also maybe trying to isolate themselves because some of the habits is like they find themselves being different, and these are children that maybe are going to turn into thieves or have actually also start doing substances because they've seen their parents also do them, and they're also going to teach the other friends to start on these habits because for them it's a normal thing. So please, when you're doing substances, maybe you can do, if you're an old and mature person, you know you cannot do away without it, do it from a different place, not close to children. Don't introduce your children to these habits very early. It is not good for their development. Otherwise, I have spoken way too much, but I hope you learned something. Thank you so much for watching. We meet again in the next video. Don't forget to share, comment, and subscribe. Otherwise, I love you. See you in the next video, and bye.